Hall last week where we did a little spiel explaining the program. So we assume all of you have already read the materials, and if you're planning to apply, you are all set to apply. So yeah, this is just an open opportunity for you to ask any questions, and we'll do our best to answer. So yeah, floor is open. And feel free to put your questions in the chat, or just speak up, and if it gets too crazy, we'll
I have a
start
question.
managing it.
Can I go? Do you hear me?
We
Yes.
can't hear
Okay.
you, Pascal. You're if you're speaking,
I can
your mic
hear.
is off or something.
Should I just write it?
I can hear Pascal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear.
Hold on, 1 sec.
Okay. I'll wait.
Oh, okay, I can hear you now. Sorry, my
Okay, perfect. No worries. One question I had is, when we do the application, when you write the application, there's one field where we have to show a sample of our writing skills. If I didn't write a blog, but I wrote papers that I didn't publish, can I send it to you via email, or shall I put it with a file sharing website?
Yeah, put it on a file sharing website and put the link in, because it'll be reviewed by multiple reviewers. Just that way.
Okay. Perfect. Thanks.
Okay, question in the chat says, the form says sample need not relate to protocols, but should illustrate your general approach. Does this mean we need to create a new article explaining the idea? No, it does not. In fact, we strongly recommend you don't create a new article just for this application. So we want an article you've already written in the past that just shows us your thinking style about such topics. So it doesn't have to be about protocols. I don't know, if you've written a popular science article about something, you can use that, or something that shows your general intellectual approach. Question, deadline is the 21st. Does that mean tonight midnight or tomorrow midnight? So tomorrow midnight Pacific time. So that should hopefully cover everybody in the most forgiving way possible. So yeah, 21st Tuesday Pacific time midnight. So it'll give you actually a few more hours into the 22nd if you're in earlier time zones. But I'm in Pacific time, and I'll be the one closing the form. So
I was curious if in your conversations you have at all evolved the definition that you offered in the application text, which I thought was intriguing, calling a protocol a stratum of codified behavior that allows for the construction or emergence of complex coordinated behaviors at adjacent loci. Have you all had more conversation about that, or is that sort of the working definition for the moment? And I saw the language on, feel free to challenge it. Which I welcome, but I was wondering if there was any nuance that you all had talked about further.
So our own internal conversation is proceeding at a very slow tempo compared to this conversation, since that definition came out of months of discussion. But if you've joined the Discord, you'll see that there's already a lot of interesting discussion going on there, where people are like exploring other definitions. And if you haven't joined the Discord, I do recommend you do so. In fact, there was one discussion last night exploring a different definition. But on our end, we haven't touched the paper since we put it out. So it's out there to provoke whatever reactions it provokes. But hopefully over the summer, we'll all get a chance to try out different definitions.
Thank you.
I see a question from Rob Jones in the chat. After saving, submitting the application, when will the link arrive? This is up to Google. In my experience, it arrives within minutes. So if you haven't yet gotten it, maybe look in spam. I don't know if there's anything else I can suggest, since it's a standard Google form.
Yeah, and I guess if you don't get it in like an hour, maybe ping Josh or me or Venkats to just like with your email to make sure your application actually did go through, because there's no way for us to tell. Yeah. Beyond, I guess, obviously beyond looking at the forms.
I had a quick question. So I'm going to apply as an affiliate researcher just because I don't believe I have the time commitment to do like 40 to 60 hours on the program for the summer. However, I do have an idea that I want to explore, which is like basically like around like protocols for increasing conflict and use of military forces, but I don't have like the time to apply as a core researcher. But I was wondering, is there a way for those who are maybe even not in the program to follow along within the official program to just build their own process and thoughts on like the application, like not the application, but what they're thinking of. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And indeed, that is actually one of the broader intents of the program. So let me just, there's a couple of elements in your question. Number one, if you're applying as an affiliate, the primary intent of the affiliate role is in fact to provide like a active group for the core researchers to work with, since we believe that an important part of researching protocols is trying to get other people to use them. So that is an important role where if you're an affiliate, you'll be expected to like respond to one of the core research projects going on, one or more, maybe build on it, maybe do something to add to it. So that is the primary intent of the affiliate role. But that said, yeah, we are actively hoping that a lot of people who are not formally part of the program or in affiliate roles or just more loosely attached will in fact do more than the formal program goals. So yes, if you have your own ideas, please do pursue them. Drop your links into the Discord. Any support mechanisms we have, kind of like the guest talks, any material we share and discuss, other ideas we come up with to support the researchers, we'll try and make them as broadly available as possible. So people sort of doing their own projects alongside the program can benefit as well. So we are still thinking and we are open to suggestions. The Discord is the first piece of infrastructure that we've kind of made available to everybody. So yeah, please feel free to use the Discord as a resource to develop your own ideas. If you're writing an essay, you can share your evolving draft with people and so forth, even if it's not formally part of the program. So yeah, this might sound confused, but that's because we're still discussing how best to support kind of a broader big tent arena for people to work within. But yes, we will support this kind of thing. Tim, anything you want to add on this one?
No, yeah, that sounds good. Masiek, hopefully I got your name right.
Yeah. Most people call me Mac. So I have a question because I have one idea that I've been exploring for some time, but it's not like a dead horse that you have mentioned in the last Zoom call. It's definitely something that's pretty fresh to me. I just didn't have time to explore it because I was running company and just didn't have time to get very deep. Since now I just retired from the company, I have time for that. So if it's already, I might say like half-baked idea, is it a good thing to include that in my applications, or are you looking for even less developed ones?
We do want bold, relatively early stage ideas, because one thing we do want to be wary of is people, of course, are very excited about personal projects that have been evolving for a long time. And the idea of protocols is broad enough and general enough that it's tempting to see things as like protocol themed ideas because you've been working on them. So long as you're disciplined and rigorous in actually thinking about protocols and sort of thinking about your idea through the lens of protocols, yes, you're welcome to submit any idea. And yes, you're right. Just because it's already been worked on for a while doesn't mean it's lacking freshness or so forth. People dig up 100-year-old ideas and find new elements in them after all. So yes, use your best judgment. We trust you guys to I don't know, bring rigor and intellectual honesty to how you think about protocols and how you look at ideas as protocols.
Okay, thank you.
Simon, Simone.
Thank you, Simone. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for this initiative. Seems really relevant. So I just wanted to ask you, basically, I wrote an application through email to Venkatesh because it's for guest resident. So I wanted to just ask how we are sure that the mail was received, because I got no kind of receipt, and sometimes emails go to spam filters. So that's my my question. How can I be sure that the application was received?
I got your email, Simon. So
Okay, that's the best way.
yeah, I do have a backlog of the emails about guests and resident positions to get through. Sorry about that. It's a lot.
Absolutely no worries. I just wanted to be sure that technically was in your inbox.
Yeah, so,
Thank you so much.
I'll respond more generally to anybody who's interested in the guest speaker or resident roles. We are handling these in a more informal way, since what we want to do is compose a group of interesting people for the core and researchers to talk to, get support from, get interesting kinds of feedback from. And that's why we kept it informal, because yeah, we wanted to just make sure we compose an interesting panel for that. So yes, if you haven't, if you've emailed me or DM'd me on Twitter and you haven't yet heard from me, I will get through the backlog in the next few days after the application closes. And yeah, we'll get that sorted out and put together a good guest and resident panel.
Thank you very much.
Oh, Sam?
Yeah, so I just had a quick question about the relationship between the core researchers and affiliate researchers. And I know it seems like it's still pretty open-ended at this stage, but I was wondering, is your intention for the affiliate researchers that they are going to bounce around from core research project to project and provide feedback on each one, or more of like a partnership with a specific core research project that they find stimulating that they can pick apart from there? And so hopefully that makes some sense.
Yes, definitely more of the latter. We are looking to create interesting partnerships between affiliates and core researchers. Think of it more like we actually literally thought of this at one point as a speed dating kind of thing halfway through the program, where you have a bunch of affiliate program researchers and core researchers, and the core researchers are basically pitching affiliates to come and join their project and build on it. And if you've ever participated in a hackathon, that's the loose inspiration, where people who are developing projects are pitching other people to come join them and work on them. So yeah, since the program duration for which the affiliates will be, so they'll be only for the second half of the program, formally part of the program, that's not very long. So about 8 to 9 weeks. I suspect at most you'll be able to contribute productively to 1 or 2 projects, depending on how you're contributing. I don't know, if you're a designer and you're adding illustrations or design elements, maybe you can contribute to several projects. If you're helping, I don't know, implement actual speculative protocol, maybe there's only enough bandwidth for 1. So it'll partly depend on the substance of what you're doing. But I would say between 1 and 3 is probably what we'd expect affiliate researchers to contribute to.
Yeah, that makes sense. And just for the sake of clarity, my reason for asking the question was the core research project that I'm looking at. The artifact is something that I'm really excited about, but it would be something that would be much easier to build if I were working with people who have an expertise in coding, because it's an open source software tool. And so anyway, that was why I asked, but that does answer my question. So thank you very much.
I guess I have a sort of a follow-up to that. I'm working with a team of people. Ryan is here, and there's a third in our bunch, and so we're intentionally. I heard your previous exploration that maybe it makes more sense to have separate application, but we thought that really what we're after is something that the three of us together are passionate about. Would it make sense then potentially? Currently, we have framed it as an affiliate research application because none of the three of us individually have bandwidth to be in the core researcher role, but between the three of us, would it maybe then make sense to say this is a team application for a core research project?
No, that probably isn't something that would work within the structure of the program. The affiliate role is primarily to support like core researchers who are in the program. But yeah, like I said, we'll we're trying to create an open structure. So if you have interesting things that look like they thematically belong in the Summer of Protocols, yes, feel free to, I don't know, informally make use of the resources and tag yourself into the program and do permissions projects within it.
The application isn't different, right? The form doesn't change if I click affiliate. Okay.
Form doesn't change if you're applying as a team. We are strongly recommending that you just put in different individual applications. That way, if we're able to accommodate one of you and you have other people outside just working alongside, that's fine too. We want to create like an open boundary here. But full teams, it'll be logistically hard for us to, like if three people apply and say we only want to work together as a team with each other and nobody else, it's going to be logistically hard for us to accommodate that kind of team within this small program. Other programs,
Yeah, we're not proposing that at all. That we'd rather just be on our own.
that's fine for others. Yeah,
Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to want to be part of this if we're just doing it. No, we're not sharing. Thank you. I appreciate the clarification.
So Ryan here. Again, looking at the program schedule, again, I'm trying to get an idea of the number of core projects that would be, I guess, recruiting affiliates and kind of energy around them. Is that number set, the number of core projects at this point?
10-ish, but we're not like, I think quality matters and like a diversity of like areas and domains matters more than like hitting a specific number. So if there's 12 that we think like make a ton of sense together, or if there's 9, we'll go for that. But roughly 10 core projects, and we'll probably have, if you assume like roughly 1 person per core project, the goal with affiliates is to probably have twice that. So, say there's 10 core researchers, 20 affiliate researchers, again, with, some flexibility on both sides.
And again, just a one follow-up, has there been a thought to the process for connecting affiliates, like maybe a live process or a group convention kind of meeting, open space, where you would bring folks together to create that bulletin board of ideas and then have a marketplace of connection? Have you had thoughts about that yet, or is that still open for you?
So we are still discussing mechanisms for that. We do have the Discord as the sort of starter informal place where people can just informally network and get to know each other. But when the affiliates are welcome to, by the way, just join the Discord and participate loosely even before their formal role starts. But when their formal role starts halfway through the program, we will try to have a few more structured events, maybe something like the speed I mentioned or something like that. As far as in-person meetups go, we will probably not try to link those two together. We are planning an in-person workshop of a couple of days somewhere in the program, but that may end up being later. So we will not be linking the two together. So we will try to match affiliates and co-researchers separately from any in-person event. But yes, definitely don't wait for us. Network, get to know each other, talk to each other, form relationships outside of anything we do to catalyze it. So we will do our part, but we're hoping a lot of this happens organically. Join the Discord if you haven't yet.
I'm in.
Yep. Question in the chat, is 4 pages, 1,500 words appropriate length? Yeah, that should be enough to convey a sense of your writing style. We will probably be expecting slightly longer output from the program itself. I'm thinking more like, 4,000 word, something like a magazine feature length article. So you should be comfortable writing longer than 1,500 words because we want people to go deeper. But for the application, 1,500 words sample should be enough for us to get an idea.
Hi, I had a follow-up question regarding your comment about team application. Since, as you said, it's a small size that you are going to intake, it's really hard to take more than one people probably for a particular team for a same idea. So does it even then make sense to do a team application? Or should we just in an individual application mention that two other people are also interested in working on the same thing? Like, does it even make sense to do a team application?
So yes, your instinct is right. We do suggest if there's no really strong reason to apply as a team, just submit individual applications, use the same title and mention your team members' names, but you don't call it a team application. That way, even if one of you gets in, maybe you can get some support from the program and others can work informally. The reason we've left the door open for team applications is just in case somebody has an idea that really does need like full support from multiple people and it's like the best idea in the world. Like if you have an actual working idea for a time machine and all three of you have to work together to build the time machine and need the support of the program, yes, we want to be open to that. But in general, it's most flexible if you apply individually and are open to either working by yourselves or if all of you get in together. And Rohan says he has an idea for a time machine that he's not sharing. Fair enough. If I had one, I would probably keep it to myself as well.
We got to have proper protocols for use of time machines first.
Question again to Venkat. At this point in time, are you getting what you hoped you'd be getting?
We're getting a good mix of applications, so we're pretty happy with what we've gotten so far, and we're expecting a small spike towards the end of towards the deadline, as always happens. So yeah, we're happy with the pool we have so far.
Is there anything you wanted that you're not getting?
Not particularly.
Cool.
Is there anything you're getting that you didn't want?
We'll probably do a sort of overall reaction blog post or something about the overall applicant pool and share our commentary, because part of the intent of this, like Tim mentioned, is we want to have like a program with a diversity of areas and teams represented, lots of people working on all sorts of aspects of protocols that nobody's sort of thought of before. So yeah, one of the things we will do is review the applicant pool and maybe share some commentary on the teams represented, suggestions for others to work on other teams. So yeah, if you're broadly interested in the team, we will share some reactions to the application pool.
And maybe one thing I'll add from just like skimming the applications, I haven't done a super deep review yet, is there's definitely some value in trying to be precise, like within the domain that you're interested in. So for example, you know, there's a fair bit of applications around like sociology and like the more human side of protocol interactions. So say there's, you know, 5 or 10 of those. It's much easier to, or like, I guess the ones that tend to be more compelling are the ones that kind of go into the actual details of what they want to look at, right? Like, and so I think this applies just generally broadly because it's a pretty open prompt that I think we give people. Maybe one failure mode is to have a response or a project that's like, not that it's that high level is bad, but that from reading, like when reading the application, it's not clear to us like what direction will you go in? Like if the program starts tomorrow, like what is the thing you would start to do? And that's something that like I found some of, I don't know, the applications that like really struck out to me in like an initial skim had this. It's like this level of depth of like having thought about that question like a bit more. Yeah, so I think that's maybe the one way where like you can kind of make things a bit more yeah, concrete or yeah, well fleshed out, I guess. Yeah.
And to add to that, there were some questions on exactly this in the Discord, and I think I responded and others may have as well. But yeah, in general, going from like specific to general through the program. So if you're not saying like work on a narrow, tiny thing through the program, that's not the intent, but it's better to start with like a specific narrow thing and then generalize from there. Like, you know, just to make up our running example, it's better to start with like, you know, thinking about handshakes and then coming up with a grand unified theory of all social sort of trust building gestures or something like that, rather than like propose a thesis of I'll have a grand theory of social trust and then not say anything specific about handshakes, right? So go from specific to general rather than general to specific, or staying purely general or purely specific. And for those of you who haven't yet joined the Discord, please do so, because there is, I think, quite a bit of good feedback there, not just from us, but peer feedback from others thinking about applying. So there's good insight in the discussions there. One question that, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, so just wanted to ask a follow-up question on what Tim said earlier about the specific part, how specific you want the application like ideally to be. Like my approach to that is give like a very general overview of like the aim of the project, but along with that kind of include a sort of like very brief outline that kind of touches upon the like like just the skeleton or like the scope boundary of what do we want to like touch or like aim to cover. And do you think that's the right kind of specificity or right level of specificity, or do you
So
have?
we don't have like a formal set of guidelines for how reviewers are going to read the application. So we're going to have like a handful of people reviewing applications. But just think of it from the point of view of, I'm one of the reviewers. What will help somebody like me just understand what you're going to be starting on day one and what you're going to be pursuing? And me personally, I find it easiest to grasp where somebody is going with an example. Like in the Discord, I suggested that a good way to be specific is, what's the simplest question that you're going to ask and pursue that you don't know the answer to? This was a tip my PhD advisor taught me, but that's just me. Other people will be reviewing that idea. So just give people a hook from which they can understand your starting point. And for some people, yeah, an outline may help be more specific. For others, an example. So pick one. It doesn't have to be perfect, but pick a reasonable way to convey the specific hook.
Yeah. And maybe like to put like a counter, like, you know, what would be a bad approach is like, imagine, you know, there's an application around like communication protocols, but I'm not able to tell from the application, are they going to look at like TCP/IP or like the evolution of language, you know, in humans, right? And I think that's like the thing you don't want, right? Like if your application is like, I'm going to look at communication, like, and I don't think there's been any that are like that vague, but to give you an idea, like that level below of like, oh, I'm going to look at like networking protocols between computers or the evolution of, you know, language in like this part of the world, or like, and it's fine. You might want to look at both those things, but then, you know, to take your approach of like an outline, you would maybe start by saying, look, I'm going to survey the different types of communication protocols from like machine to human to like, you know, animal, something like that. And then like whatever you do after. But I think that's the thing to avoid is just like this high level, I'm going to spend the summer looking at communication protocols, because reading that, it's hard to guess like what you're gonna do, even if you already had that plan in your head. Like having that in the application is really valuable. Yeah.
Great, thanks.
It's funny you mentioned that particular example, Tim, because I just saw an exchange of blog posts between Robin Sloan and Matt Webb proposing exactly something like natural language as a protocol over TCP/IP between AI LLMs as a protocol, like speculating that in future computers will communicate over TCP/IP sockets, but in natural language. It would be funny if that were an actual proposal somebody worked on. That would be really cool.
That would be cool.
I had this question a couple of times in the Discord, so I want to repeat and respond to it here. A couple of people asked if they can submit multiple applications. The form technically allows you to do that, but unless you have a very good reason to do that, and talk to one of us maybe, please don't do that. It just creates more work and doesn't necessarily increase your chances or anything. So yeah, just pick the idea you're most excited about and apply with that. That's probably the best heuristic. If you're excited about the idea, that's probably the best idea to apply with.
Cool. Any final questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
I was planning on submitting a piece that's not analytical or theoretical, but more, I'm a game designer, a LARP designer, and I was going to submit a LARP script that I've had that's been published. And I'm wondering if that's something that's interesting, or you're more looking for like discursive pieces?
That'll work. The intent of the writing sample is to give us an idea of how you think. And if your intent in applying to the program is doing similar work, then that'll give us an idea of how good you are at that kind of work, right? But if you hope to write like an analytically rigorous philosophy essay and then you submit a game script or LARP script, we have no way of telling whether that's useful for that. So yeah, submit something aligned with the intent of your proposal.
That makes sense. Thank you.
And that's definitely something where, like, again, skimming the applications, like the writing samples that had like a strong, not even style is maybe a bit of a weird thing, but like at least a strong like that were sort of opinionated in a way, I think were like much more noteworthy. We're like the goal is not just to have 10 things that look the exact same. So like if and I don't want to like share. I feel like if I share examples from applications, then we'll get 10 the thing I share on this call. But like, yeah, whether it's a game script, whether you're like a consultant and you make like formal reports, if you write academic papers, like, yeah, the writing sample should sort of tell us who you are or like the things you're into, and that really helps when then reading the application to imagine, not that it will be the exact same thing, but like what it could look like. Yeah.
See, okay, Pascal in the chat, does it make sense to send you 2 different writing samples to show it better? Try to avoid it and stick to one link, because in my personal opinion, a big part of like, I don't know, doing research is making decisions. So you have to like make basic decisions, like which of your preferred writing samples better represents your research intent. And if you're making us choose which of 2 writing samples to react to, that makes it much harder. So yeah, pick one that better represents your interests.
But then I'm going to ask if I can send the other one, because that was a concept of making a new regulation work, but it's not really a written piece. So that's why the question came up in my mind. Does it make sense what I'm saying?
I mean, we're asking for a writing sample, so it has to be a written piece.
Well, like if there is something that complements it, so I don't know what would be the example here, but imagine it's something visual, right? Like if you have a writing sample and then there's like some, design work or whatnot, like sure, you can put 2 links in the field. I think the thing though is like thinking of myself reviewing the applications, putting 2 writing samples is not going to give you twice as much time reviewing your application. That means I'll skim them, or read them like half as quick or twice as quick. So like, if there is something that complements your writing sample that's not in it, it's not the end of the world if you put another link. If you send 2 4,000 word essays, I'm just going to probably skim over both of them rather than like sitting down on one of them, or, maybe just randomly open one. So like it should, don't see it as like it'll get you more time to review, but like it potentially might dilute. Yeah.
The general spirit of our application reviewing is going to be, if we are human, we have a certain amount of time to go over.
Good evening.
So, we'll do our best to be fair and make good calls on the applications. But yeah, it's going to be a fallible human process. So don't make it too hard for us to make good decisions. Make it easy for us to make good decisions. Let me put it that way. Sorry, did somebody else just join, and did I interrupt a question there? But I heard somebody.
I think that was somebody's mic going off. It didn't sound like a real question.
Yeah, Tim has a comment there. Yeah, that's good. Like, yeah, somebody sending a long academic paper plus the blog summarizing it. Yeah, I would count that as a really one reading. So.
Cool. Any final questions that we can answer for you guys this morning? If nothing pressing, I think we can probably wrap it up. As Venkat has mentioned a couple of times, we're pretty active in the Discord. So if there are further questions that you have, please feel free to post them in the Discord, and we will get to them as soon as we can.
And yeah, thanks also for taking the time for the applications. Like so far, they've been like generally very good and very unique. So like it's been fun to read them. So yeah, really appreciate everyone putting the time to put them together.
Yep, +1 on that. So see everybody on the Discord, and final reminder, the application deadline is tomorrow midnight Pacific time. At that point, the form will close. So get your application in before that. All right.
Yeah, thanks everyone.